What is suffering and why can't we escape it? If we have everything we want, why do we still feel empty? It's a question that lingers in the mind, isn't it? You've heard it before, the dream life. The one where success, wealth, and relationships are supposed to bring fulfillment. But do they? Let me take you into the world of someone you may know, or perhaps even yourself. Picture this, a young professional in a bustling city. They've worked hard to climb the corporate ladder. A beautiful home, a shiny new car, social status, everything that the world promises will bring happiness. Yet, something is missing. There's a gnawing feeling deep inside, a feeling of emptiness that no new achievement, no luxury, no amount of attention can fill. You see, this is not a unique case. In fact, it's more common than you think. We live in a world that constantly tells us that having more will make us happy. Achieve more, buy more, be more. But despite all this striving, happiness feels elusive. So, what's going on here? This, my friends, is where the illusion begins, the illusion of happiness that comes from external possessions, achievements, and recognition. We're told that these things will fulfill us, but the truth is, happiness is not something to be gained. It's something to be understood, and that brings us to the very first, and often most misunderstood truth, suffering. Yes, I know, suffering. A word that makes many of us uncomfortable, and yet, it's an essential part of our journey. You see, suffering is not a punishment. It's not some random twist of fate. It's not something to be avoided. Rather, suffering is a teacher, a guide, an opening into deeper awareness. But here's the catch, most of us don't know what suffering really is. We think we know. We think suffering is just pain, sadness, and loss. But the truth is much more complex, much more profound, and so, in this moment, we must pause and ask ourselves, what is suffering really? And why can't we escape it? No matter how much we try, these questions will guide us in the coming chapters. As we peel back the layers of the human experience, using the wisdom of the Buddha and the teachings of ancient spiritual traditions, in this video, we are not just looking at suffering through the lens of victimhood. We are diving deep into understanding it, so we can finally break free from the chains it holds over us. The first step on this journey is to understand that what we think is happiness is often just an illusion. We keep running after things, hoping they'll give us the peace we crave. But in the end, that peace always slips through our fingers. Now, with that in mind, let's go deeper. What is suffering, really? And where does it come from? Suffering. We hear this word all the time, but do we really know what it means? We all think we understand it. We associate suffering with pain, loss, grief, and hardship. It seems straightforward, doesn't it? But when we start to peel back the layers, we begin to realize that suffering is far more than just what meets the eye. In fact, if we take a moment to really think about it, suffering is not simply something that happens to us. It's something that permeates every aspect of our lives, often without us even noticing. It's there in the background, shaping our thoughts, our reactions, and our expectations. But what is it, really? Well, according to Buddhist philosophy, the word suffering doesn't just refer to physical pain or emotional sadness. The term we use is dukkha, a Pali word that encompasses a wide range of human experience. At its core, dukkha refers to unsatisfactoriness, to the discomfort we feel in life when things don't meet our expectations, when they don't go as we hope or imagine. It's the gap between what we want and what we have. In short, it's the fundamental unease of living. This might sound unsettling, but stick with me. It's not all bad news. Let's break it down a bit. There are three major types of suffering in Buddhism: the suffering of pain, dukkha. This is the most obvious one, the physical pain we experience, the heartbreak, the loss. It's the illness, the injury, the emotional wounds we carry. It's the kind of suffering that we can immediately recognize. The suffering of change, viparinama. This type of suffering happens when something that was once pleasurable or comforting changes. Maybe it's a relationship that ends, or the joy of a new job that fades. Everything in life is constantly changing, and that's part of the suffering we experience. We become attached to what is fleeting, only to watch it slip away, the suffering of all conditioned existence, Sankhara dukkha. This is the deepest form of suffering, the awareness that life itself is inherently unstable. Everything we experience, every thought, every feeling, every situation is temporary, and it will eventually disappear. Even our most cherished moments are impermanent. And it's this very impermanence that causes us to suffer, because we cling to things that can never last. Now, let's take a moment to pause and reflect on these types of suffering. Think about a moment in your life when you felt something slipping away, maybe it was a dream, a relationship, or a moment of happiness. You thought it would last forever, but eventually, it didn't. That sense of loss, that discomfort, that unease, that's dukkha. And here's the thing, most of us spend our lives trying to avoid it, trying to avoid pain, loss, and change. We chase after pleasure and comfort, hoping that if we can just secure enough of it, the suffering will stop. But what if I told you that this very attempt to avoid suffering is actually the source of it? Yes, you heard me right. The more we try to run from suffering, the more we suffer. The more we cling to things, the more they slip through our fingers. The more we resist the natural flow of life, the deeper the suffering goes. Why? Because suffering, in its truest sense, isn't just something that happens to us. It's a fundamental part of existence. It's there in the very fabric of life. And as long as we keep fighting it, we will never find peace. But here's the good news, the moment we stop fighting and start understanding suffering, that's when things begin to shift. That's when we start to awaken. Buddha taught that the first step to freedom is understanding the truth of suffering. It's not about running away from it or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about seeing it for what it is, and in doing so, finding the wisdom that will free us from it. But how can we really see it for what it is? How do we begin to understand suffering, instead of letting it control us? We've all felt it, the tug of dissatisfaction, the gnawing ache that comes when things aren't quite right. But what if the true roots of our suffering are buried so deep within us, we can't even see them? What we often fail to realize is that the pain we feel in life isn't random. It's not some cruel twist of fate or something that happens by chance. Our suffering has roots, deep within us, in the very way we think, act, and relate to the world. To truly understand suffering, we have to look beyond what's on the surface. We must dig deeper, much deeper. So, where do we begin? Buddha's teachings on suffering are rooted in the concept of the three poisons: greed, hatred, and ignorance. These are the hidden forces that lie at the heart of all our suffering. They shape our desires, our reactions, and ultimately, our lives. Let's take a closer look at each of them. 1. Greed. Lobha. Greed is more than just a desire for material things. It's the craving for more, for something beyond what we already have. It's an insatiable hunger that leads us to believe that if we can just have a little more money, more success, more pleasure, then we will finally be happy. But here's the problem, the more we get, the more we want. This craving doesn't stop. It's like trying to fill a cup with water that has a hole in the bottom. The more you pour in, the emptier it feels. This cycle of craving keeps us stuck, constantly chasing after things that can never truly satisfy us. 2. Hatred. Dosa. Hatred, or anger, is another root of suffering. It's the reaction we have when things don't go our way, when we're hurt, or when we're wronged. It can manifest as resentment, frustration, blame, or even jealousy. But here's the truth, hatred only harms the person who holds it. It's like holding onto a hot coal, hoping to throw it at someone else. In the end, we burn ourselves. Our anger eats away at us, clouding our judgment, poisoning our hearts, and keeping us trapped in negative cycles. 3. Ignorance. Moha. Ignorance, in this context, doesn't mean simply lacking knowledge. It refers to a deeper, spiritual ignorance, the lack of understanding about the true nature of life, ourselves, and the world around us. It's the illusion that things are permanent, the false belief that our experiences, our relationships, and even our bodies will last forever. This ignorance leads us to cling to things that are constantly changing. We get attached to ideas, to people, to material things, believing that they will give us lasting happiness. But because of impermanence, these things will eventually change, disappear, or fade away. And when they do, we suffer. These three poisons, greed, hatred, and ignorance, are like the roots of a tree, feeding the tree of suffering that grows in our lives. They are the unseen forces that influence our actions and reactions, shaping our experience of the world. But here's the catch: we don't often recognize these poisons. We're so wrapped up in our daily lives, in our desires, and in our anger, that we don't stop to notice how they're steering us off course. It's as if we're walking through life with blinders on, not realizing that we're feeding the very forces that keep us trapped in suffering. And here's where the Buddha's teachings offer a powerful insight. In order to break free from this cycle of suffering, we need to first recognize these poisons within ourselves. We need to see them for what they are, unwholesome tendencies that cause harm, both to ourselves and to others. But this recognition is not enough on its own. We need to go a step further and transform these poisons into their antidotes: generosity, compassion, and wisdom. That's where the real freedom begins. We've all been there, haven't we? That feeling of wanting something so badly that it consumes us. It's like a fire burning inside, always reaching, always craving. But what happens when we can't let go? Craving. It's one of the most powerful forces in our lives. We crave food, comfort, success, love, and even peace of mind. We think, if I could just have this one thing, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be fulfilled. But here's the paradox: the more we crave, the more we suffer. The very act of craving creates a cycle that locks us in a prison of dissatisfaction. It's as if we're chasing after something that's just out of reach, and no matter how fast we run, we never seem to catch it. In Buddhist philosophy, this is known as tanha, or craving, the second noble truth of suffering. It's the thirst, the yearning, the hunger for something outside of ourselves that we believe will finally give us happiness. But here's the key: craving is insatiable. No matter how much we acquire, no matter how many of our desires are fulfilled, the craving always grows back, stronger than before. It's like trying to fill a cup with water when the bottom is always leaking. The more we fill it, the emptier it feels. So why does craving exist? Why do we keep feeding this endless cycle? The truth is, craving is not just about the objects of desire, it's about attachment. And this attachment is what keeps the cycle of craving alive. You see, we don't just crave things, we cling to them. We cling to people, to experiences, to outcomes, because we believe that they will bring us lasting happiness. We become attached to them because we fear that without them, we will be incomplete, unfulfilled, or even lost. But the Buddha taught us that attachment is the root of suffering. It's the attachment to things that are temporary, that causes us pain. When we cling to something, we ignore the truth of impermanence, the reality that everything changes. Let's take a moment to reflect on this. Think about a time in your life when you held on to something too tightly, maybe a relationship, a job, or a goal that you thought would bring you fulfillment. What happened when it didn't turn out the way you expected? Perhaps you felt disappointed, frustrated, or heartbroken. But in reality, it wasn't the loss of that thing that caused the pain. It was the attachment to it, the belief that it was the key to your happiness. The moment we let go of the need to control, to possess, to cling, we are free. This is where the cycle of craving and clinging becomes a trap. The more we crave, the more we cling. The more we cling, the deeper the suffering. And the deeper the suffering, the more we crave. Now, let's take a closer look at how this cycle plays out in our daily lives. We crave things we believe will bring us happiness: a new phone, a new relationship, a promotion at work, the perfect vacation. When we get these things, we feel a momentary sense of satisfaction. But soon enough, the craving returns. We want more. We want the next thing, the next fix of pleasure, the next boost of excitement. This cycle can go on for years, and we don't even realize it. We think we're pursuing happiness, when in fact, we're just caught in an endless loop of craving and clinging. And the more we pursue this elusive happiness, the more we suffer when it slips away, but it doesn't have to be this way. The Buddha offers a way out, a path to freedom, a path that doesn't involve chasing after fleeting desires, but instead, letting go. How? By practicing non-attachment, not in the sense of withdrawing from life, but in the sense of embracing life as it is, without clinging to it. It's about realizing that happiness is not something outside of us. It's not found in possessions, achievements, or relationships. It's found within, in our ability to let go, to live fully in the present moment, to accept life's impermanence, and to find peace in the here and now. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the vast expanse below. You're holding on to something tightly, your knuckles white, your heart racing. You know that to move forward, you must let go. But the fear of falling holds you back. This is the reality we face every day. We are holding on to things that no longer serve us, fearful of letting go. We cling to people, possessions, and expectations, all because we believe they define us, give us security, or provide us with meaning. But what if I told you that the key to freedom is not in holding on tighter, but in letting go? In Buddhism, letting go is one of the most transformative practices. It's not about abandoning responsibility or withdrawing from the world. It's about releasing the things that tie us down, the attachments that limit us, and learning to live with a sense of freedom. So, why does letting go have such transformative power? Letting go breaks the cycle of craving and attachment. When we cling to something, we are trapped in the cycle of desire. But when we release our attachment, we no longer define our happiness by external circumstances. We free ourselves from the need to constantly chase after things, people, and experiences that we think will bring us happiness. The Buddha calls this practice of letting go non-attachment or detachment. It doesn't mean we don't care about anything. It means we don't cling to it. We don't tie our identity or sense of self-worth to the things or people in our lives. We recognize that everything is impermanent, and we learn to embrace change rather than resist it. Let me tell you a story. There once was a monk who lived in a remote village. He had spent years meditating and practicing the teachings of the Buddha. One day, a storm hit the village. The winds howled, the rain poured down, and the villagers scrambled to protect their homes. The monk, however, sat calmly in his small hut, unaffected by the chaos outside. A villager, seeing this, ran to the monk and asked, "Master, how can you stay so calm? Don't you see the destruction all around us? Don't you care?" The monk smiled gently and replied, "I see the storm, but I am not the storm. I understand that everything in life is like the weather, it comes and goes. I do not cling to the calm, nor do I fear the storm. I simply let it be." In that moment, the monk understood something profound. Our attachment to our circumstances is what causes us to suffer. If we cling to happiness, we fear the loss of it. If we cling to pain, we fear it will never end. But when we let go, we can face both joy and sorrow with equanimity. This is the essence of letting go. It's not about turning away from life, but about turning toward it without attachment. It's about embracing the impermanence of life and accepting that change is a natural part of existence. When we stop holding on so tightly, we can experience life with greater clarity and peace. We stop being controlled by our cravings, fears, and desires. Instead, we begin to live in alignment with the natural flow of life, accepting whatever comes our way without resistance. Think about it. How much of your life is spent holding on to things? Whether it's the need to prove yourself, the desire for approval, or the attachment to things and people, we are constantly holding on. But in doing so, we create more suffering. Letting go allows us to see the truth of our own nature. It frees us from the stories we tell ourselves about who we should be and what we should have. When we release the need for control, we allow the universe to work through us, rather than against us. But letting go doesn't mean we give up or stop caring. On the contrary, when we let go, we are able to engage in life more fully. We no longer carry the weight of attachment, and we can act from a place of genuine freedom and compassion. Think about your relationships. How often do we hold on to expectations? We expect people to behave a certain way, to meet our needs, to give us what we want. But when we let go of these expectations, we are able to love more freely. We can see others for who they truly are, without the filter of our attachments. We can love without needing anything in return, which is the purest form of love. Letting go can be difficult. It's not an instant fix, but a gradual process. It requires patience, awareness, and courage. But the more we practice it, the easier it becomes. Remember the story of the monk. When we stop clinging to the storms in our lives, we can find a calm and peaceful heart, no matter what's happening around us. True freedom lies in the ability to let go, to embrace life with an open hand rather than a clenched fist. We've talked about letting go, about breaking free from the endless cycle of craving and attachment. But there's one more thing we need to understand. Letting go isn't just about freedom from suffering, it's about transforming suffering itself. That's right. The Buddha didn't teach us just how to escape suffering. He taught us how to transform it into something profoundly beautiful. Wisdom, suffering, in many ways, is the gateway to wisdom. But how? How can something so painful, so challenging, lead to something as noble as wisdom? The answer lies in the way we approach suffering. Most of us see suffering as something to be avoided, something to be feared. We view it as the enemy. But in Buddhist philosophy, suffering is not a roadblock. It's a pathway, a path that leads us to understanding the truth of existence, the nature of our minds, and the interconnectedness of all things. But how does suffering transform into wisdom? Let's explore this idea together. Imagine you're walking through a dense forest, and you come across a thorn bush. At first, you avoid it, thinking it will hurt you. But as you walk closer, you realize that it's not just a bush, it's a lesson. The thorns represent all the sharp, painful moments of life, the heartbreak, the loss, the disappointments, but instead of running from it, you face it. You learn to move around it. And as you do, you start to understand the bush, its structure, its growth, and its place in the ecosystem. In that moment, you gain wisdom. The suffering of the thorn bush no longer causes you pain. It becomes part of your understanding of life. This is the core of Buddhist wisdom. Instead of running away from suffering, we face it. We learn from it. And in learning, we transform it into something that deepens our understanding of life and our place in the world. Let me explain this in the context of our everyday lives. Think about the last time you faced a difficult challenge. Maybe it was the loss of a job, a breakup, or a personal failure. In the midst of that pain, your mind may have raced with thoughts of hopelessness or resentment. You may have questioned why this was happening to you, but what if, instead of dwelling in those thoughts, you used that pain to look deeper? What if you used suffering as an opportunity to ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Buddhism teaches us that suffering is a mirror. It reflects the truths about ourselves, our attachments, and our desires. By examining our suffering, we begin to see what we are truly attached to, what we fear losing, and what we crave. It's through this self-reflection that we gain insight into our own minds and hearts. Here's a profound truth: wisdom doesn't come from avoiding suffering. It comes from embracing it and understanding it. Wisdom is not a knowledge we acquire by reading books or listening to teachings. Wisdom is something that grows from our own experiences, especially the painful ones. The Buddha's teachings don't ask us to reject suffering, they ask us to see it as part of the natural cycle of life. Life isn't about being constantly happy or avoiding pain. It's about understanding the nature of pain and using it as a tool for growth. Let's take a closer look at the Four Noble Truths, which are at the heart of Buddhist wisdom. 1. The truth of suffering, dukkha suffering is a natural part of life. It exists in many forms: physical pain, emotional pain, and the pain of impermanence, too. The truth of the cause of suffering, suffering arises from craving and attachment. We cling to things because we fear losing them, and this creates suffering. 3. The truth of the end of suffering, suffering can be ended by letting go of craving and attachment. This is the essence of liberation, the truth of the path to the end of suffering. The path to freedom is the Eightfold Path, which guides us to live wisely, ethically, and mindfully. It's in the practice of this path that we begin to transform suffering into wisdom. Each step on the path teaches us something new about ourselves, our desires, and our potential for inner peace. We learn to act with wisdom rather than reacting from a place of fear or attachment. We learn to see our suffering as a teacher, guiding us toward deeper understanding. Imagine how different your life could be if you viewed each challenge not as something to fear, but as an opportunity for growth. What if you saw suffering as a doorway to wisdom, instead of a wall you need to climb over? When we transform suffering into wisdom, we no longer see it as a burden. We begin to see it as a blessing, a reminder that we are alive, that we are constantly learning, and that we are capable of deep transformation. This process doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice. It takes time. But with every moment of suffering, we have the opportunity to transform it into wisdom. Every hardship, every loss, every disappointment is a chance to grow. So, how do we begin this process? We start by changing the way we view suffering. Instead of asking, "Why me?" we ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of resisting pain, we open ourselves to it, allowing it to show us the impermanence of all things and the impermanence of our desires. Now that we've explored the depths of suffering and how to transform it into wisdom, we arrive at the ultimate goal of the Buddhist path: freedom. True freedom isn't something that can be bought or earned. It isn't about escaping to a faraway place, but rather, it's about letting go of all that binds us, all that keeps us trapped in the cycle of craving and suffering. Freedom, in the Buddhist sense, is not freedom from pain or hardship. It's not about running away from life's challenges. Rather, it's the freedom to be at peace in the midst of those challenges, the freedom to experience life without attachment, without the fear of loss or the need for things to be different than they are. So, let's take a moment and reflect. What are you attached to? What are the things in your life that you can't imagine living without? Is it your job? Your relationships? Your achievements? What would happen if you let go of those attachments? In Buddhist teachings, attachment is often compared to chains that bind us to the wheel of suffering. These chains are not just physical, they are mental and emotional attachments. We attach ourselves to ideas, to people, to things, and to outcomes. We form identities around these attachments, believing they define who we are, but attachment, as we know, doesn't bring happiness. It brings fear, anxiety, and suffering. When we attach ourselves to things that are impermanent, relationships, wealth, success, we are setting ourselves up for inevitable disappointment, because everything in this world is in a constant state of change. Nothing lasts forever. Our attachments are based on the illusion that these things will bring us lasting happiness. But in reality, they are just temporary pleasures that only keep us trapped in the cycle of craving. So, how do we break free from this cycle of attachment and suffering? The answer is simple, yet profound: letting go. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning our responsibilities or rejecting our desires altogether. It doesn't mean becoming indifferent to life. Letting go means realizing that our happiness doesn't depend on external conditions. It means understanding that our minds are not bound by the things we possess or the people we love. Here's the paradox: the more we let go, the freer we become. The more we release our attachments, the more we are able to experience life with true freedom. Freedom from the need for things to be different, freedom from the fear of loss, freedom from the endless cycle of craving and clinging. Imagine a life where you don't need to control every outcome. A life where you can enjoy what you have without the fear of losing it. This is the freedom the Buddha taught, the freedom that comes from within, the freedom that arises when we stop grasping and start embracing life as it is. So, how do we practice this kind of freedom? The first step is mindfulness. Being fully present in each moment, without judgment or attachment. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to observe our thoughts and feelings without becoming caught up in them. We realize that thoughts are just temporary waves in the ocean of our minds. They rise, and they fall. But we don't have to attach ourselves to them. The second step is acceptance. Accepting that life is uncertain, unpredictable, and sometimes painful. When we stop resisting the way things are, we begin to experience life with a sense of peace. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity, it means embracing the flow of life without trying to control it. True freedom comes from within. It's the freedom to be yourself, to live authentically, without being defined by your possessions, your achievements, or your relationships. It's the freedom to experience life fully, without the constant need for more or the fear of losing what you already have. As we've learned through our journey, suffering is not something to escape from. It is the key that unlocks the door to wisdom and understanding. And in that understanding, we find the path to freedom, the freedom to live in harmony with ourselves, with others, and with the world around us. If this journey has resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and click the bell icon to stay updated with more insights on how to live a mindful, peaceful, and liberated life. Remember, true freedom begins with letting go. And by practicing the teachings of the Buddha, we can all find our way to a life of true peace, wisdom, and liberation.